So on the topic of trauma, neuroscience research has been an incredible tool and has helped us to peer inside the brain and to better understand how psychological trauma is associated with various and multiple types of brain change, from alterations in the activation of the brain, to brain waves, to the interconnectivity of certain brain regions, even down to the actual volume or size of certain brain structures. What actually happens inside someone's brain when they experience trauma? Today we're going to take a look at 5 distinct key areas of the brain involved in trauma, and also take a look at some techniques in treatment that have been proven and shown to help revert the activation of a traumatized brain to a more normal state of functioning like before the traumatic event. As we explore these 5 key areas of the brain, keep in mind that none of them work alone. None of them work in isolation. They're all connected, and through trauma recovery treatment, we work to increase the connectivity of these areas for a more integrated brain as a whole. The first area of the brain that we're going to discuss is the fear center, or the amygdala. Whenever you hear or think of the fight, flight, freeze, this is the area of the brain that we're referring to, okay? Its main objective is to determine if a certain scenario, context, person, etc. poses a threat of danger. Okay, it's also been referred to as the smoke alarm of the brain. So one of the goals in trauma treatment is to decrease the activity of this area of the brain. Deactivation of this area of the brain can reduce reactivity to trauma triggers and the arousal symptoms of PTSD, such as hypervigilance, always feeling on guard, so on and so forth. The next part of the brain that we're going to discuss is the interoception center, or the insula. The insula is the main site of interoception and proprioception. And to give you an idea about what those are, proprioception is one's sense of awareness and balance of their body in space and time. Like, for example, when I'm walking, I know that my legs are under me. Even with my eyes closed, I have a good sense of where I am. This is only possible because of proprioception. Without it, I would certainly fall down quite often. Interoception is one's ability to feel into their emotions and connect with internal sensations, internal physical sensations. Like if you are experiencing hot, cold, hunger, jitteriness, all of these are examples of interoception, okay? With trauma, the insula is often dysregulated, which makes it very difficult for an individual to identify and regulate emotions and distressing physical sensations. But like through treatment, when the insula is strong, one has a much better ability to first identify and then manage and regulate emotions and distressing physical sensations. The next part of the brain to be discussed is the memory center, or the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the part of the brain that is responsible for keeping all of our memories. It's also been called the timekeeper because it's responsible for putting a timestamp on all of our past memories. This allows us to experience past events where they belong in the past instead of in this present moment. With individuals who have experienced traumatic events, this area is often less active and smaller than individuals who have not experienced PTSD or another kind of anxiety disorder. This results in memory and stress regulation difficulties. So through treatment, to increase the activation of this area of the brain would allow the individual to feel safer in this present moment and reduce fear whenever trauma triggers occur. The next area to be discussed is the prefrontal cortex, which is comprised of several smaller structures which together compose what we consider to be the thinking center of the brain. The prefrontal cortex is involved in functions such as concentration, decision-making, self-awareness, and the awareness of others. In the traumatized brain, however, this structure is usually underactive, which leads to difficulties when a person is trying to make good decisions, concentrate, have a clear train of thought, and connect with other people. So through treatment, to increase the activation of this center of the brain would lead to clearer thinking, more sound decision making, the ability to have self-awareness, and the ability and desire to have a connection with other people. So the fifth and last part of the brain that I'm going to discuss today is the self-regulation center, or the cingulate cortex, more specifically the anterior cingulate cortex, which is involved in conflict monitoring, error detection, and self-regulation, but more specifically, the regulation of emotions and thoughts. With individuals who have experienced traumatic events and are living with post-traumatic symptoms, this area of the brain is often underactive, which results in an individual's difficulty regulating their emotions, their thoughts, and it impedes their decision making. So through treatment, to increase the activity of this area of the brain is immensely helpful because it better equips an individual to regulate emotions that are unhelpful, unpleasant, even painful, and to regulate distressing thoughts. So after that review and moving forward, I will be discussing a lot of techniques that come from the realm of the bottom-up technique. The bottom-up technique uses the body to change the brain, especially the subcortical lower areas of the brain that are outside awareness of consciousness and control. For instance, the bottom-up technique can be used to chill out or deactivate the amygdala when it's all worked up. That's the fear center of the brain, and to strengthen connections with structures like the insula, which is the interoception and proprioception area. Some examples of bottom-up techniques include breathing exercises, meditations, poses, grounding techniques, and we will be discussing that in depth a lot more moving forward. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was somewhat informative, and if you have any questions about anything, please put them in the comment section below. I'd love to address them, and as always, take care of yourself.